the product of the love between the literal product of the love. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, Cam asks what we think about Jon Favreau's comments on not having a planned ending for The Mandalorian.
Hey, we're going to dive into the dreaded plan discourse.
Ooh.
And I have mixed feelings about it, honestly. Like, it is kind of nice. It's comforting to hear someone say, like, hey, we have a plan. We know where we're going with this. But, you know, having a plan doesn't necessarily mean it's a good one. And not having a full plan doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing either.
Yeah, everyone likes to harp on the sequel trilogy and say, oh, they didn't have a plan, and that's why it was this or that. But, I mean, I think you could make an argument for that for a trilogy of movies that we know is going to be like 7, 8, 9. But this is a TV show. We don't know how many seasons of this show there could be. So I don't know. I don't mind the idea of having an open-ended outlook at the future of this show.
Yeah, the way I see it, especially for a TV show, but I always bring up the original trilogy, which, you know, Lucas had ideas, but there was not a set-in-stone plan for how that was going to go. And he changed it drastically over the course of the first 3. Like, he had plans to do 12 episodes, and he was like, now maybe it'll be 9. And then he was like, no, it's just going to be 6. And, like, really moved plot points around. Like, he originally wasn't going to have the Emperor show up until episode 9. And then he's like, now we're going to do just about all of my ideas now in episode 6. Mm-hmm. So, you know, plans change, ideas change, especially on a TV show. Like, I think when we were first talking about this, when Favreau first brought it up, I thought about Breaking Bad, and I don't know how much of that show was planned, but I do know some of it changed. Like, Jesse's character was going to die in season 1, and then they liked him, and they were like, never mind, let's keep him on. The plan is altered now.
Mm-hmm. And that happens with a lot of shows, I think. You want to wait and see, okay, who's the fan favorite here? If it is someone that we had originally planned to kill off pretty soon, maybe we don't do that. Maybe we get him to stick around a bit longer.
I also think about one of our favorite shows, Parks and Recreation, which it's a sitcom, a little bit different there, but I do not think that they knew the end game for season 7 when they started season 1. It sounded like the end game would be, and one day Leslie Knope will build a park. And like they just kept on going, and no, the show's not absolutely perfect, but I think all 7 seasons are pretty great, despite not having a plan. So all that said, I think that Favreau has more than people are giving him credit for. That I think he knows what he wants to say with The Mandalorian, and that's more important. Like, his messaging, his themes have always been consistent. And like, looking at the season 3 premiere, I was like, yes, this feels consistent. And there are multiple avenues I can see the show continuing down, and I'm like, I can see them all working too, just as long as he keeps his messaging right. He also has already written season 4. He said that. So it's not like there's no idea of where things are going in the future. Mm-hmm. I think he does have like a loose idea, but it's not like, and this is the show's final shot and final season and how I want it to end. I think he's just going to keep going as long as he can.
Yeah. I mean, I think they have their eye on the prize, and we all know what that prize is.
Grogu.
It's Grogu.
I think there's always the temptation with a show to just keep on going and keep on going. I think, like, I'm hopeful that he knows when he's like, I think I've said everything I want to say. Mm-hmm. I think it's time to end. That is the bigger thing, is that just knowing when to show some restraint.
Yeah, and I think building this idea of the Mandoverse is gonna keep that from happening. Like, it's gonna keep things from going stale, and we're also going to have the opportunity to have cameos and characters show up from other shows into the new shows, and so like it's all kind of a mixing pot, and I don't mind that.
I don't either.
Framed Citizen wants to know what level of hype we are after watching The Apostate compared to watching the first 2 season premieres.
Yeah. So the very first episode.
Where's our hype level at here?
Very first episode was Grogu's second season premiere. was Cobb Vanth, 3rd season premiere. I honestly think that first episode season premiere, what am I saying? The series premiere.
Series premiere, yeah.
I was like kind of skeptical of The Mandalorian at that point. I was very hesitant to fully embrace it, I think, until that Grogu moment. And I was like, okay, like I get it. I feel like I was really overly skeptical of just Star Wars on TV. And I was like sitting back, like, impress me. And that was like kind of a bad attitude. So I think the season 2 premiere is probably the most hyped I've ever been for a Star Wars episode. And so I'd say season 3 is in between. I love Cobb Vanth so much, but I think season 3 still got close to that of there weren't any huge developments, but I really liked everything they said, and so much happened in only 35 minutes.
Yeah. I think my hype level is going to be different from like how I feel about each premiere, because after seeing Baby Yoda, who we didn't know his name was Grogu at the time, after seeing Baby Yoda for the first time after the season 1 premiere, we all lost our minds, right? We were like, oh my god, what is this? What's happening? And I think after comparing all 3 season premieres, I think I might like this one the best.
Really?
It took me a little while to come to that decision, but I like the world building that happens in this first episode. I like that we get to see so many different planets. We get a pretty clear look into Din's mission and what he wants to achieve. We get a pretty clear look at Nevarro and what might happen there. Pirates, can't go wrong with pirates. Grogu is being sassy and like using the Force frivolously, which I love. We got Anzellans being cute.
It did a lot.
It hit a lot of notes for me that really made it work. So
it was just a very fun episode, fast-paced. Again, I'm just impressed at how much they got done. And sometimes you pull up the app and you're like, oh, 35 minutes. Mm-hmm. Oh, well. But then you watch it and you're like, man, they did so much. Yeah. And it was so much fun. It was a really tightly packed 35 minutes. No scene wasted.
And I think that's a test to what we got to see in the Book of Boba Fett. Like, having that stuff pop up in that show allowed us to start this one off running.
Sure. I think I'm always going to be curious, just in the back of my mind, wondering what season 3 would have been like if it were not the Book of Boba Fett, but Din and Grogu apart for a while. And then this would have been season 4. Yeah. I don't know. That's just a thought I'll always have. But setting that aside, like season 3 felt great. You said it when we finished watching it. You were like, feels good to be back. And it absolutely does. Yeah.
We probably would have gotten the first 3 episodes seeing what we saw in Book of Boba Fett if we hadn't have gotten that.
I think that there should have been just more time from them just spent apart. That's it.
Yeah. Shaq Fu asks if Cobb Vanth will become the Marshal of Nevarro.
You know, I'll do anything for more Cobb Vanth. If that's how they want to bring him into the series again, I'm all for it. But yeah, we were debating whether or not Cobb Vanth could be convinced to leave Mos Pelgo.
Freetown.
Freetown, yes, excuse me, right.
I did have this thought of, him being a pretty good candidate, but I know kind of the last we saw him in Freetown, he was happy with his job there, but my theory was that he was going to promote the bartender guy,
Tonti, yeah,
to be the Marshal of Freetown, and then that leaves him open for a promotion, maybe?
I think there's a possibility. It's just I see that Freetown is his home, so as long as they can find a convincing reason for him to go out on his own and be like, you know what, I want to spread my martial wings somewhere else. Test out this new cybernetic shoulder or whatever he has.
Yeah, that's another thing. We don't know what shape he's in, literally.
Yeah.
After what happened in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. But I'll do anything and be happy no matter what they do. If this is the route they take of, yeah, let's bring Cobb Vanth over to Nevarro and he will be a much bigger part of the show from now on. I love it.
Brock Closter and or Mappa want to know if the armorer is making up the rules as she goes.
Brock specifically kind of asks, why doesn't Din ask if he can just be baptized or whatever in the water right there where that kid was?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he's allowed to say the creed in that water, why not Din? And part of me does think that, yeah, the armorer is probably just mad at him for removing the helmet, and maybe that was a rule at one point of like, yep, you just have to go back to Mandalore and say the creed again, but you can't do that now. So, meh. Like, that's kind of the attitude I got from her.
Yeah, I think she's sick of him, and she's just trying to get rid of him. I think she is, like, trying to rebuild what she knows to be the way, the right way.
Right.
And she's got Din over here literally swooping in to save the day. Like, I feel like that little kid probably saw that and was like, oh, cool, I didn't know that was an option. Like, what if Din saw something like that when he was a little kid and was like, oh, what if that was an option? Anyways, yeah, I know. I don't think she wants him around, period, and she's just trying to, like, get rid of him.
Yeah. I think that there is, like, technically a way for him to atone and find redemption, but she is saying that it's impossible. Don't even try. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if or when he goes through with that, like if he comes back and she's going to be like, well, there's something else you need to do, and just keep stringing him along.
Yeah. She's like the leader, and then he's like the cool leader that could be an option, and she's intimidated by that. She doesn't want her covert seeing Din do what Din does and then being like, well, maybe we could follow Din and not her.
Yeah, which is so weird. Like, he doesn't seem to have any aspirations of usurping her, but I agree that I think she sees him as a threat to her potential power. Mm-hmm. She's still such an enigmatic character we don't know much about, but as a cult leader, I assume that she's like, I can't let Paz Vizsla and the others see that he's out there taking his helmet off and coming back and going out again and having the time of his life with this adorable little baby.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to see that, oh, yeah, I can just go live my life and I'll be okay. Mm-hmm. And I can keep my cool helmet. Like, yeah, I agree with what you said. That is a threat to her.
Do you think there are any other, like, random rules that she's going to make up for Din?
Probably.
After he comes back from accomplishing what he wants to accomplish, maybe?
Yeah, like he'll bring back proof, and she'll just be like, "Oh, that you could have gotten that anywhere," and it's like it's literally from the gift shop in the Living Waters or something.
Yeah,
he's gonna bring back a little souvenir,
a little matchbox with the logo on it.
Yeah,
I was there.
Visit the Living Waters of Mandalore.
I paid for the DVD.
He's gonna show up thinking it's like this hugely profound experience, and it's just so kitschy. Like, yeah. The people who lived on Mandalore like probably commercialized it.
Someone's working there and they're like, step right up to the Living Waters.
Someone's still there.
And then
they haven't been to the surface in 3 decades.
You literally have to go through the gift shop to leave. And Din basically uses one of those penny machines and where you run a penny through and it like impresses it with something.
I love the idea of someone still being down there. Like, they just didn't even hear the bombs go off all that time ago, and he's like, oh, someone's here, like, step right up to the Living Waters.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be Christopher Lloyd's character.
Or it's a droid.
There's rumors that Christopher Lloyd is going to be in it. He could just be like this kooky old man down in the mines.
Yeah, I love that. Jake Freeman asks what we think the Empire is using the Zillow Beast clone for.
Yeah, I wanted to get a Bad Batch question in there. The return of the Zillow Beast and all that. Very exciting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that the original purpose for cloning the Zillow Beast for Palpatine was like, I want to make armor out of these lightsaber-resistant scales because that would make the clone troopers even more effective.
Yeah. I mean, they're literally just experimenting on it probably and figuring out how they can weaponize it in any way possible.
Mm-hmm. It's something else that popped up in the Thrawn book, Thrawn Alliances, that they found another like factory where Palpatine or Sidious, they didn't know who, was making clone armor that was laced with cortosis that will shut down lightsabers when they hit it. And so they destroyed that factory. But I think Palpatine was very interested in finding ways to make the clone troopers like invincible to lightsabers.
Mm-hmm. And so since we've seen this new Zillow Beast clone, we know kind of how it works, and it like feeds off of electricity or energy, and then it got really huge. So maybe they were literally just trying to set it free on some poor town that they wanted to take out.
Maybe eventually. I don't think that was the purpose of that episode, like the derelict ship and all the Republic troopers running around getting eaten.
But cause chaos.
Yeah, just to cause chaos.
To like take people's eyes off of what's actually happening.
Yeah, that's an Imperial thing. It'd be like, yeah, let's let a monster loose and then we'll come in and save the day. And
right. They'll like know exactly how to capture it. So they'll set it loose, be like, oh no, Palpatine will come in and save the day and be like, you're welcome. I
still think that there's a chance they could be trying to figure out a use for the scales, even with most of the Jedi gone. The energy feeding thing is definitely interesting and something we didn't know about before, as far as I can remember, that they can find a way to use its DNA to harness energy or something. I don't know. I think it could be any number of things.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just a big monster and they're like, let's just keep it around.
They're just like enjoying having the chaos as part of their experimentation.
It's just Hemlock's pet at this point. Yeah. He likes it.
What do you think its name is? Sparky.
Zippy.
Oh, I like Sparky better.
Zappy. Sparky's good.
On to YouTube questions. Sci-Fi Guy 9000 wants to know if Jason Sendula will be in Ahsoka.
I'm going to say no, because I like the idea that he would be in Skeleton Crew.
I think if that's true, if he is going to be in Skeleton Crew, I think he shows up in Ahsoka first. For like just a little bit.
I love that, he was introduced in Star Wars Rebels. We've barely heard about him, even in like the Alphabet Squadron books. Hera, I don't think even mentions him by name, but just kind of talks about her son, who she's not with. And I like the idea that he could feel lonely and that, yeah, he might be in Ahsoka and it's like, well, mom's got to go off on another adventure without me. And so that could lead to this rebellious streak wherein Skeleton Crew, he leads a bunch of other kids to go do something crazy. Yeah. Like, I think that's a fun setup.
And we know he's some level of Force sensitive, and he's probably, he's gone his whole life not really knowing who his dad was, but probably knowing about him and the fact that he was a Jedi. So he probably has that yearning to know more about that side of his family and what could be if you were to train with a Jedi.
Yeah. So maybe to Ahsoka, but I'm hopeful that he's like a regular in Skeleton Crew.
Just a casual.
Just a casual.
Just a cashy.
Just a cashy kid.
Yeah. He's not going to be showing off any Force powers to the other kids.
Yeah, he's just the cool kid with his green hair.
I'm super green. I do wonder, though, if they ever thought they were going to have to continue a story with him in it, because he's kind of just thrown into the end of Rebels as like the product of the love between the literal product of the love between Kanan and Hera. And it's that part of it is beautiful because like it's the idea that Kanan can live on through their offspring. But then it's like, well, we want to keep putting Hera and stuff. Yeah. What do we do with him?
I love that they're like, why did we make his hair green? Like, for no reason. Just because Hera is green and now he has to have green hair. And now it's just annoying for the live action show. Maybe he'll grow out of it. Like some kids have blonde hair when they grow up and then it turns brown.
Yeah.
He had green hair and it's going to be a normal color in the show.
Michael Caddock asks if Moff Gideon was a former Mandalorian.
I could kind of see that. I think he's just a member of the ISB that took part in the Great Purge and all that, but we do know that there were Mandalorians that joined the Empire, became Mandalorian Imperial super commandos, so I think there's a chance for that.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I could see him spending some of his time at the ISB, like being in charge of studying their culture and like being just really interested in all of it.
Yeah, that's more the vibe I get, that he is just knowledgeable. I don't think that he really cares about the Darksaber. To me, he has it because it is annoying to Bo-Katan. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think he won it through combat. Maybe he did, and then he's like, and now I am Mandalore. No, I don't think he cares about that. I think he's just keeping it as a trophy.
I think he got it in a way that was like not by combat. Like it was Bo-Katan was probably caught, outnumbered, whatever. And then he got his hands on it. And yeah, he's just waving it around to be like, look what I have. You can't have it.
Yeah, in my headcanon, Bo-Katan surrendered to stop the slaughter of the Mandalorian people and probably handed it over. That's my guess.
Must have been hard. Michael Insleen wants to know if Plan 99 could be Omega putting together a crew to rescue the Bad Batch. Oh,
That's fun.
like getting Gunji back and getting Kid from the Mines back. Benny, sure, if you say so.
Just Benny.
Yeah, like getting just a couple of the people that they've met along the way back to help her. I like that.
Fee, Sid, maybe. Sid would take some convincing, but like I think Omega, of all people.
I don't think Sid would be that helpful, to be honest.
Probably not, no. But maybe Sid has contacts that could help out.
Sure.
But yeah, just the characters we've met over the course of both seasons, that does feel like something that Star Wars Rebels did, where you bounce around, you meet different characters, and then in the series finale, like, everyone came back.
She could get Sid to get the big gangster guy,
Malegi, yeah.
Malegi back. He looks like Malegi. He looks like he could be helpful in a fight.
Yeah. So I think that's a fun idea, that if all of the Bad Batch wound up captured, and then it's Omega, and she has to use all the lessons that they have imparted upon her to go rescue them. I think that's fun.
Yeah. Nita Kalen asks if the Path of the Open Hands view of the Force could be true.
So in the High Republic books, we're in phase 2. There's this cult that believes that the Force should be untouched. Like, they believe in the Force, but they think that if you affect it in any way, it will knock it out of balance and cause problems. So basically, the Force is always seeking balance. So if a Jedi saves someone over here using the Force, then the Force is going to kill someone over here to balance things out. I do not think that, I'll say there's like a 1% chance it could be true. The way they describe it in the books, honestly, I'm like, okay, I see this dilemma that you're presenting. I understand the argument, but the point is there's no proof for it ever. So,
well, there is in their opinion. That's,
right, like, for
them, like, I see how this looks good on paper, and for them, you know, they're a little preachy in the books, and for them to have this view of it, it's so easy for them to use any example to be like, see that? That's what we're talking about. That's an example of how the balance was out of whack and how this happened because you messed with the Force. Like, it's too open.
Yeah.
For how they can
Path the Open Hand.
Yeah, it's for how they can manipulate situations to be like, see, that's what I'm talking about. And it, even in the book, it frustrates everyone around them because like nothing you say can mean that they're wrong. Yeah.
I mean, it's very much presented, I think, especially in the comics. I remember reading it and being like, this is like a flat earther conspiracist, where they show up and they're like, prove me wrong, and you're like, okay, here, and they're like, nuh-uh.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you want from me? There's just no, they keep moving the goalposts. It's too philosophical even to really nail down. But I think what it comes down to is, you know, the Jedi have experience with the Force and they do not. They have knowledge of the Force and no experience of it, and therefore they think they know just as much. And the Jedi are like, we are not controlling the Force. We're part of the Force, and it's a beautiful thing. And they're just like, nuh-uh, they're not showing up to actually listen and debate. Like they want to come into the convocation of the Force where a bunch of different Force users like share their ideas and they talk about it and they gain understanding. They don't come at it from a point of view of understanding. They're just they come in and they're like, everyone stop using the Force forever because we're right.
Yeah.
And you can't prove to us that we're not.
They're just jealous.
It's very like a lot of people will say, oh, balance in the Force is equal parts light and dark. And that is never, ever what George Lucas said. It's actually the absence of the dark. And the using the dark side is what throws a person out of balance. Giving into your anger and your fear and your aggression, that's the lack of balance. So for them to come in and be like, the Force is always balancing life and death is like, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it makes me think of karma, you know, and I like the idea of karma, but it's like someone saying, well, I did this good deed, so like, where's my reward? Or like, I did this bad thing, so like, something else is going to happen. Like, they're taking it too literally.
And yeah, like I want to make it clear that, you know, death is part of life and the Force and everything, but it's not like nature is trying to say like, oh, a baby was just born, got to kill someone random. Like, and that's kind of what they're coming at it like. And yeah, there's just no way to disprove it, but no, there's no way.
We've all come into contact at one point in our lives with someone like this, and it's not like this exact thing. They're not members of the open path of the open hand, but it's like, it's someone that just wants to argue for argument's sake, and they're always going to be right no matter what.
Yeah, there's no debate. There's no changing of minds or actual, like, listening. They're just waiting to say something next.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said there's a 1% chance only because I don't think there is a way to literally prove them wrong. It's just the knowledge and experience to know that they are.
And like, the more we find out about them in the books, the shadier they are.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So something weird's going on there, period.
100%. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.